Hello, welcome to a new episode of this your channel where we talk about psychology, scientific papers, and more. So I bring to you scientific papers people tend to ignore the majority. So today we're going to continue this interesting topic and we're going to label it as a conceptual model of indispensability. Remember, we were talking about the boom of the internet in the early 2000s, and we were asking us a question of if internet indispensable. We nowadays can say like yes, it is, but back in the 2000s, we already had this question rising. So why so early, and why is this indispensable to talk about it now? So there's like the conceptualization of internet indispensability as a model to guide different investigations and this one. So this model provides a conceptual framework that allows us to address a series of important research questions, along with their individual, social, and policy consequences. It is considered individual behavior to be constituted by a set of social, cultural, technological, and individual psychological elements that operate on various levels. The social, cultural elements are generally considered to be at a macro level. The individual is simultaneously subject to all these forces, as we will describe. The outcome of using behavior in the internet environment results in a series of experience dualities, which lead to a transformation process that alters the self-identity of the individual. In this case, the nature of the change in self-identity is a conviction that the internet is indispensable for the individual. It is the small things that people use the internet for on an everyday basis that makes it so integral to people's life. Do you use the internet for everything nowadays? We all use it for social networking. We use it for social connections. We use it as a way to express ourselves, our identities, personality. We use it to keep in touch with friends, colleagues, co-workers, and also to dig for more information. So it isn't only a tool to connect with others as it appeared in the beginning, in the early 2000s, or a way to find more information and valuable content for us to know. It is also a searchable bar for us aside from Google. It is also a way to get inspired, a way to get entertained, and also a way to get some visibility to others as well. Conceptually, as internet activities become part of the daily routine of individuals and social groups, the internet becomes integrated into their lives. Formally, we state that the first set of conditions for internet indispensability relates to its ubiquity in both sociocultural and technological contexts. It is defined ubiquity in terms of two major elements, and now also dependent on the different segments of the society using the internet and the context of use, and the access points for its usage as well. The underlying idea is that as more segments of the population use the internet in different contexts, work, family, school, and others, the greater its diffusion and potential impact. Similarly, the greater the number of access points to the internet, the greater its use and impact. There are also a set of technology-related things in the past that we need to take into account as well. Inherent to the internet medium itself. We have enabling characteristics, fundamental properties of the Internet environment, and that can intensify and be specifics about the power of the technology, its versatility, and its productive potential. And I want to focus on this one's productive potential. One of the reasons that now the Internet, and probably back then, was already indispensable or considered indispensable, it is because it is a source of information, first of all. We see the benefits: social connection, social interaction, a way to search for other things that can enhance our hobbies and relate it. But it is a source of information. And as a source of information, we also need to link it as a source of people. Beforehand, it was more difficult to find people. Nowadays, we just need like one click. So we have those two main properties. And that's why we need internet nowadays to perform most of their jobs worthwhile. And if we don't know someone, one of the three main options that we're going to have in our apps is to Google it. Let's Google that person. Let's take a look. Or let's see if I can find that person on Instagram, if I can find it somewhere. So these things, even though we don't even want to be on the web, even though we don't want to be on this interconnectivity, we don't want to be online, people still can use this tool to get information. So I find this really, really interesting, because if it is now integrated in everyday people life and also in everyday people jobs, and it relies on the economics, the politics, and a lot of things that now the internet carries, it is so much that of course it is surpassed the capacity of a simple tool. It's a necessity, isn't it? But the enable characteristics define a computer-mediated environment that requires multiple access points to function optimally for its users. Thus, a related technological aspect is the prevalence of access points for the Internet, which represents the ubiquity of the Internet and directly impacts the nature of Internet users' daily routines and activity. We have different access points. We have cell phones, computers, iPads, public libraries, working spaces. We have also AI, Alexa, and in the future we will have much more. Which one is your preferred one? A third determinant of activities performed on the Internet is individual in nature. This recognizes the fact that individual reference variables, including personality, characteristics, needs, and demographics, are important determinants of online behavior. Together, these three categories of determinants impact the individual's daily routines and activities, affecting the way the individual uses the Internet in everyday activities. So our location and what we do every day also is really important. Determine the amount of time that we spend on our phones, that we spend on our computers and others. How many time do you spend online? Let me know. A critical intermediate consequence of this model is the nature of people's experiences as a result of their engaging in the daily routine of Internet use. These experiences in terms of a set of dualities can be represented. The dualities represent the limits of the Internet, positive and negative, and the general tension that the Internet creates amongst users. A natural consequence of these experiences is the transformation process that the Internet use imposes on the individual, society, and economic. Many of the activities individuals engage in online are the seeds for major transformational processes. In this way, the cumulative effect of micro-level phenomena can lead to social transformations on a major scale. This could include the formation of new practices and behavior, new social relationships and transaction modes, new communication patterns, and the like. Note that the overall impact of transformation will not be the same across all social groups and individuals. I think this is why we also get impacted when we find out like a news of something terrible that happened for a group of people that was like either isolated or conducted to do something online. And when we keep in touch with a circle, when we feel part of something, that also influences our social interactions. And that could also lead to major causes. So it's not surprising in the terms of wanting to belong, wanting to participate, and wanting to be connected. Transformation means you have a new identity and self and sense of self. Consider email as an example. Individuals typically start to use email for practical benefits, to communicate with friends, family, or coworkers. It is doubtful any new user will find such use immediately indispensable. As the user gains more competence, a number of dualities will be experienced. Email empowers the individual, providing a capability for instantaneous communication not previously available. But as the volume of becoming or incoming email begins to increase, and the pressure to keep up with email changes builds, a sense of entrapment often appears. The user must work through this empowerment-entrapment duality and alter his or her behavior or thinking in ways that permit a successful resolution. Much of this behavioral change involves the establishment of new rituals, in this case, daily rituals for managing one's email. We noted earlier that ritualization is an important component of indispensability. Successful change is a positive experience, engaging increased confidence, engendering as well more self-assurance, competence, confidence, and mastery. Such users now feel they are in control of email rather than email controlling them. And if we are finding these traces in the early 2000s, we can find it out today. How much time do you spend texting with others? How much time do you spend replying to messages every day? And consciously, how much time do you give to that? And that do you feel that it is indispensable to reply to others every day? We want to be connected, we want to be in communications, and sometimes it is needed. But socially, interactivity, and actions, how much do you spend of your day and feel it that need that you need to reply to that person when it is not something urgent and life-changing and others, just basic social interactions? We can spend hours texting or messaging others every day, or we can spend just like 30 minutes. But that's a question that I want to raise in here. The key outcome of this transformation process is the indispensability of the internet. Indispensability can arise through two different paths: experiential or rational, as noted dualities, tensions, or conflicts. Our experience as an individual uses the internet to perform various activities. If the dualities introduced by the use of the internet are successfully resolved, transformation results from the resolution of the conflicts that the internet presents. These transformations fit back in the model to impact both the individual as well as the larger social system. Indispensability is a key individual outcome. We can call this experimental indispensability as it represents a long-term, persistent change in the individual's feelings and inherent belief system that the internet has become indispensable. This also happened when we were all using mobile phones in a massive way. Like, hey, I can call another person right away. This was so needed. This is indispensable now. And yes, we can call someone when we have an emergency. But how many times have we ran someone else's phone just out of curiosity, just out of just to talk, just out of just to manage non-such important topics? Some of the broader issues in internet development concern individual and social consequences of indispensability, and there are larger implications too, for example, social welfare and policy issues. At the individual social level, the issues include, but are not limited to, altering perceptions of the space-time's continuum, human communication and interactions at local and global levels, blurring the boundaries between the real and the virtual, the paradoxical nature of technologies, and both positive and negative psychological consequences. Have you developed any negative consequences out of the continuous internet usage in your life? Two important policy debates include the digital divide and the ongoing controversy over the impact of computers on education in our schools. Research shows that the internet has not touched all segments of society equally. That was back in the 2000s. The lower socioeconomic levels are among those least likely to enjoy access, but nowadays everyone can access to it, or almost everybody. Further, digital divides occur not only between the poor and the rich, but across many other segments. Urban versus rural, and lower income school districts versus higher income school districts. Federally mandated programs can appear with the usage of internet, but the efforts have been highly controversial. Thoughts, while the internet has indisputably become an essential part of everyday life, for many individuals in our society, internet access remains elusive. What price will those individuals and society pay? Additional issues that we expect will continue to gain in importance in the next decade concern privacy, protections, and security, as we have been experiencing in the past. The internet's ubiquity has a dark side. An identity thefts reports amount, offensive messages persist, and there is increasing concern over the potential impact of unfiltered information available to children. This tension between the internet's enormous potential and user expectations is likely to remain as the pace of technology continues unchecked. The conceptual framework proposed here and in other researches provides a foundation that will allow us to address the issues in depth. And I want to continue saying in depth in the future because this was back in the 2000s. I mean, these issues were really like enabling concerns and enabling people having these questions that we still have nowadays. And that's somehow impressive. And even though more people have access to internet, even though it is important to have internet access to all public libraries in every government, that we can find more institutions with internet access, and that we cannot live without a phone, but we cannot live without a phone with internet, and that's the difference. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about having all these access, and it is so easy to get immersed online. And talking about the rural areas, people are still struggling to have internet, but now they really want it and need it because we cannot live without being connected. So that is another point. It's not other like, hey, we need to be equally on this. Nowadays it is a necessity, and the governments are also struggling with rural areas to get access to it. So what do you think also the next 10 years will be like? Let me know. So thank you so much for being here. Talk to you another time. Bye-bye.